G'day legends, in this video I'm going to show you how to take a DI guitar from lame to insane and turn it into an awesome fuzz distortion that you can start using in your mixes. So here's a little tune that I produced recently, and I have a video on kind of the whole process of how I put the song together. If you want to check that out, put a link to that in the description below. So have a listen to this lead guitar and I'm going to show you how we go about creating this sound. Okay, so a pretty cool tone. Let's listen to that in solo. Now let's listen to what it sounded like without any plugins. Okay, so not very exciting. That's just a raw guitar DI sound. So let's hear it with the amp sim. So we've got Brainworks Bass Dude and Crunchy Mellow preset. I'm not sure if I played with this too much, but you can have a look at those settings up there if you want to emulate this. Alright, so it's a cool tone, like it's not bad. I really like the sound of the Brainworks Bass Dude amp for just kind of guitar stuff when you plug in directly in. Let's have a listen to what this sounds like in the mix. It's pretty lame. Doesn't really cut it. So let's hear it again with all the effects. So I think that sounds awesome. Coming from what we had to that kind of sound, let me show you the breakdown of the plugins I used and how I achieved this tone. So for starters, we've got two guitar tracks. We've got a high octave and a low octave. So our first plugin, like we said before, was the Brainworks Bass Dude. And that is sounding like this. Alright, so it's a good start. So next up, we've got FabFilter's Pro C2. We're doing a little bit of compression. And when I made this sound, I was just like in a creative process, and I just kind of grabbed the preset so I could just kind of keep creating and going without sort of sitting here and fiddling with the compressor for ages. But what I did do was I grabbed the bite and sustain guitar preset, and you can see when I click on this, the settings change slightly. So mostly the attack gets changed, and so I have pulled the attack to the fastest, so we're just kind of crushing the transient. So let's have a listen to what this is doing. So it is adding a bit of like bite to the guitar and kind of like giving it a little bit more presence, which is cool. I'm not really after a lot of transient from this sound, so that's why I've done that really fast attack. I just want like a really consistent sound. So our next plugin is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and that is the Kiive Audio Distinct Pro. Now we're driving the saturation up pretty hard, and we are pushing the distortion to 100, so just maxing this out. I have the input cranked up to about 8.3, so the harder you drive into this unit, the harder the distortion works into the saturation, so you really start to drive the unit. Then we've got the high frequencies just pushed up a little bit, and then we have it on the even saturation type, and then some sort of compressor settings going on over here, so you can have a look at that while it's going. So that's really doing a lot of the tone shaping and getting us that awesome fuzz sound. So that's really cool, and I think that is such a fun, creative way of using a plugin like this, and it is a distortion box, so you are meant to kind of get a bit creative with this. You can do subtle saturations, but then you can go all out like this and get some crazy fuzzy sounds going, which is awesome on like a DI guitar like this. Just transforms it immediately. If you buy your gear online from Sweetwater, please consider using the affiliate link below. Using that link, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but a small commission gets kicked back to the channel, which helps support the time that goes into making videos like this. If you're like me and you're always looking for new drum samples to use in your mixes, then check out the link to my website. I've got a bunch of drum sample packs and mixing courses. By grabbing any of those is a massive support to this channel. Next up, we have our EQ. We've got a big cut at 520 Hz, minus 5.6, 4 dB cut at 2.3K, and then a 3.6 dB cut at 3.4K. So we're cutting away like some harshness, and then just a small cut with a shelf around 5.3K, just taking a little bit of that fizz out, and then just a high pass roll off up to about 80 Hz. And that is exactly the same on the low one as well. So just copy paste the settings. So you can hear that takes the harsh edge out of the sound, but we still have that nice bright fuzzy sound, but now it's a little bit warmer. These EQ moves may not work exactly the same depending what guitar you're using. This is just what sounded good to me. So definitely experiment with the EQ. You can kind of go any direction with this, and it really depends on the source audio. Next up, we're using the L1 limiter from Kornef. This is just a free plugin. What's cool about this plugin, it has some shaping options in it. So we have this punchy tone and we have the thick tone, which is sort of just thickening it up a bit, but the punch does add some nice punch to the sound. So have a listen to this. Really cool free plugin. Definitely recommend you go check that one out. Next up, we've got some stock standard Logic delay. It's just an 1/8 note delay with an 18% wet signal and 29% feedback. Let's have a listen to what this sounds like. Just adding a little bit of space to it, just making it sound a little bit more 3D as opposed to that sort of flat two-dimensional sound that's going on at the moment. So that sort of just puts in a sense of space, sort of a little bit slappy sounding. Okay, so next up we have micro shift, and we're using it in mono to stereo. So we're kind of adding a little bit of width and stereo phasing to the sound, and then we are panning the sounds out slightly. So the high one's going to the left a little bit and the low one's going to the right a little bit. So you can hear that drastically changes the tone, really takes the whole edge off the sound and just makes it sound a little bit swirly, like a little bit mushy sounding, which is kind of what I want. I don't want it to be this really like harsh, edgy sound in the mix. I want it to sound kind of interesting, and this is making it sound more interesting to me. We're going to skip over this plugin for a second. This is our one knob filter, and I'm going to show you what we did with that in a moment. And then we have both of these being sent to our lead bus. So there's a couple of lead guitars in the song that are going to this bus as well when different things are happening, and they're getting similar processing. So on here, we just have an EQ with a high pass filter up to 149 Hz with a 36 dB octave roll off, and then the filter is at 0.21. So we're getting this sort of nice rolling off shape here. Then a small cut at 312 Hz just takes out a little bit of like warmth and sort of thickness out of it. So I guess we're sort of making it sound a little bit smaller now that some extra processing's been going on. And then a bit of a boost at 1.3K, so 2 dBs here. That's just to help the lead kind of just cut through the mix a little bit better. It stops the lead getting too bassy, especially with that low octave in there. Keeps it kind of under control, so we're not getting this big boost around 100 Hz. We got all like the bass and like synth sounds and stuff going on. Keeps the lead focused a bit more up in the mid-range. And then lastly, Tower Chorus LX. It's a free plugin. It's a very simple user interface, but I like the sound of this plugin. I think it just makes things sound interesting and wide, and that's kind of what I was looking for. I just really like what that's doing. Just kind of makes it pop out a little bit, makes it sound a little bit more interesting with that extra bit of chorus and the width that it's adding. Let's hear that all in the mix again. So just a reminder of what we came from. to where we are now. You might look at that and be like, that's just like too many plugins, but I don't know. Sometimes that's what it takes to get a creative sound. Like you just kind of keep stacking things on until you find what you're looking for. And that's kind of what's happened here. It's a big stack of plugins to get this final crazy kind of fuzzy, chorusy, interesting lead tone. Now, one other little plugin that we had here that we skipped over at the end of the chain is the one knob filter. Now I use this as a bit of an effect in this section to filter these in and just kind of make it sound a little bit more interesting again. So have a look at what's going on here. We've got some automation in the background here. So here with the mix. So there you go, guys. That's how you can take your DI guitar from lame to insane by processing it in this manner. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're thinking about grabbing a copy of Distinct Pro after watching this video so that you can achieve an awesome fuzz tone like this, then please use the link in the description below to go to Kiive Audio's website and grab yourself a copy. By using that link, you really help support this channel. And if you're keen to check out my Trigger 2 sample pack, check out this next video coming up.